Let's see exactly what flavor of StarCraft comes out here as we hop into the PVT. In the bottom right-hand side, the old king of Taiwan, who's been struggling to get his crown back. In the bottom right, in the blue, it's Haas.
And over in the top left, he's in the red. The Terran hero trying to defeat all these Protosses. It's ExpecT.
So the probe already being pursued by this SC. I don't want to let you proxy me. But more important to scout that quick double gas, as this looks like a proxy Void Ray kind of, but you got to remember that he didn't go 12 pylon, I'm pretty sure. So it's like a double gas one base opening, but I don't know, that probe's in a suspicious position.
We'll keep an eye on that. I enjoy that ExpecT does have his SCB out here nonetheless, you know, trying to see what's happening, knowing that it's quite possible he does get cheesed. So he's being very diligent about this. I think he's got, what, like 3 SCVs out on the map, rolling around and following probes at the moment. So yeah, taking no chances.
Has pioneered kind of builds that pretend to be cheesy in this matchup quite a bit with, like, you know, take a double gas, show it to them. They're scouring the map for your proxies, going, what's going on, what's going on? And you just take a Nexus while going, like, Blink or Phoenix or something like that. But this scouting for ExpecT is really good. I mean, he knows this is an expand. He sees it go down. He says, yeah, okay, you took a second gas, but you're not actually using it for super fast tech. This is kind of just a tricky opening from you. And you know what? I was already planning to do a quick reacted factory anyway. So no stress. I can just kind of chill out, go to the next step.
Yep, Stargate's still the flavor of the day, no matter the matchup, it seems, in this region. And, you know, fair enough. It's so versatile. We've got a lot of power with it, few options. And we've got those couple of mines coming out here for ExpecT as well. And you spoke a little bit about, you know, Haas going Stargate and just shutting down the harassment from the Terran from the get-go if you can.
Yeah. And also skipping detection, if you can, in observers at the very least. But Oracle's a pretty good detection these days, pretty vulnerable, fragile. And I would not be surprised to see an armory go down any moment now. I guess the medevac's just started, so we can drop it maybe 10-15 seconds. And it should still be ready by the time the medevac gets across with 4 Widow Mines. It's a very committed build, this one. So you basically have one thing you can follow up the medevac with, and that's another medevac, another 4 mines. After that, another medevac and another 4 mines, and you need to keep going and dropping those Widow Mines and creating chaos in their base.
Yeah, and it requires a lot of attention, I feel, to, you know, get it there safely, borrow the mines, spread it out, keep it up, you know, keep expanding. And it is like, chaos is the right word for it. It's just awful to deal with. All you need is like one load of bad shots go off and suddenly you're in deep trash, let's say.
Yeah,
the game's not going to go very well for you.
It's like 4th of July if you're in America. People throwing fireworks and stuff. Like, that's essentially it. A whole bunch of kids from the bad part of town are around. They got their hands on high explosives and they're going to start throwing them around right in your front yard.
Very nice handling from Haas. 5 probes have gone down, but he did kill 2 of the mines right off the bat. One with a lift and one with the adepts there. I think there's still one in the Nat as well as the main. And he really wants that medevac. If you heard the probe interview
did
earlier,
he not build a second
that.
medevac? Oh, it looks like not. It looks like he's just swapped straight out into the anti-air. I guess because this is only a 1-basey build from Haas as well, there's like not as many probes to kill and the tech's a bit faster, so fair enough.
Yeah, gets an extra kill there. And did he finish off that medevac? Did it make it home, Insano?
I think it made it home, but no.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, well done.
Yeah, so you got a bit of value back there. All 4 mines cleaned up and the medevac.
Uh-oh, Adept Phoenix attack. And is it going to be just the 6 Adepts? 6 Adepts and 4 Phoenix. A couple Cyclones and Vikings, but the Marines will go down so quickly to the to the Adepts. So that's what you got to worry about, because then once the pickups come in, the Cyclones are kind of dead weights. But continuing Marine Viking production, a tank on the way as well. This is one of those attacks. It can tear the Terran apart, but like one good Widowmine hit on the Adepts could change everything.
Yeah. That little Scouter Marine does get taken out immediately, but nice scan and getting rid of the unit up there on the high ground. I'll hold that thought. The Adept's coming in. He's looking for the shade, and he actually commits to it. The tank isn't sieged or anything, so he's going to start firing away at these units. The Cyclones and the Vikings, though, making this a little difficult on the Phoenixes. He's only got 2 left at this point, but worker damage still racking up a little bit here.
Yeah, that was an interesting trade there, because like the Phoenix, one of them barely gets out, which is very important. Obviously, the worker kills is very good to put Haas back in the economic lead, whereas he was a little behind before that. But both sides losing a bunch of tech units as well, and it's still just non-stop Marine tank Viking. This tells me ExpecT wants to attack, and I think he's probably going to be doing some sort of bunker push, like SCV pull into this. He's got a second barracks, but he's only on 30 SCVs. Now the Phoenix are going to find a bit of damage in the main, but you're going to lose a Phoenix for that.
Yeah. Low SCVs. He's trying to replenish those a little bit as he continues to make these units stim now on the way. Haas comfortably going for 3 bases, though, getting his Twilight Council behind this. He's already got the Robo, of course. And so he's got a little bit of a force assembled here already. It looks like he's actually going to meet this out in the middle of the map and maybe stall it a little bit or pick some stuff off here. ExpecT sees it and does have to be careful. This isn't a big force for Haas here.
Yeah, no, this is not the biggest. We'll see how it goes. Observer there. It's gonna scare this off for now. I think ExpecT needs to get a move on. I think he might be taking a little too long. Charge, a bunch of extra gateways on the way. I mean, Haas still doesn't have great production. His army's just not that powerful. But what is it? 2 Cyclones, 2 Vikings, a small pack of Marines. Not that many. And a Widowmine. I really would have loved some SCVs to be pulled with this, to add something else. But you know what? There is Stim, a 3rd barracks, and eBay. This actually gives a bit more longevity. This push itself, if it can break through this 3rd, it's definitely been worthwhile, because he's going to be building into a great 2-base army. He gets an Immortal.
Oh, that's actually a big deal. There's still, as you said, not that much for Haas here. He's starting to whop his ults now. Charge is still a little ways off, though, and he needs that to help close the distance on those units, because that tank splash is just going to be absolutely killer. He can't keep that 3rd base alive. He's just going to have to let it go and wait for a few more units to help him out here.
If ExpecT can unsiege and just run away, that would be amazing right now. But the Zealots on the left already. He's got to get out of there quickly. Oh, I would have run north if I was him. Yeah. Oh, he's going to get caught.
Yeah, Zealots get right on top of those units immediately. One of the tanks on low ground goes down. The rest soon follow. And while this mine is okay, but there's only so much damage that these ground units for ExpecT can do, and he loses that entire force in the end, despite taking down that 3rd base. And that's a bit rough for ExpecT. Haas is just going to retake that and continue with his current force attack.
Oh, well, you know what? Phoenix needs to leave. Viking for a Phoenix. Widowmine gonna kill a Stalker. This is kind of
so
cool.
Scrappy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, ExpecT's getting some good little trades. ExpecT has a Bioforce building. I mean, ExpecT is in the lead right now, in my opinion. Army supply is up by 15. You've got Stim, Shields, +1 in Concussive, finishing in about a minute and a half. 5 barracks is up. Like, scans the Observer, picks up to go and drop. There's a pylon. He'll have to just drop on that pylon and clear that. I actually think ExpecT can just push across the map, though. He's killed all the... Oh, ExpecT is not paying attention. He's really got to unload those medevacs and turn that around and just clear that up, I think.
Nope. He's just going to boost straight ahead. 1 Stalker warp in for Haas there.
Viking in the natural as well, actually. So I guess just the lack of anti-air, but Charge is still pretty mobile.
Yeah, it certainly is. And he's got a fair chunk of units waiting for that double drop to happen. And do you feel like the longer this goes, the more Haas is just going to be fine to deal with this? Because he is moving out now.
Only
But
if the army groups up. I actually feel like ExpecT's army is getting better every second, while Haas's is not. All he's doing is building zealots. The trick is ExpecT needs his army together. He's trying to focus on multi-prong, and against a zealot army like this, you actually just need to have a big ball of bio and widow mines together. So little trades like that really favor Haas, and these sort of trades are going to allow the shield battery to do really well. So this is a very dangerous way. If you can get the shield battery, this might work out for ExpecT, but it's a bit of a dangerous way to go about things.
he does get cleaned up there. There are 2 mines, though, that need a little bit of extra attention. And in the meantime, Haas has been delaying this Terran push through the middle with force fields.
This is really bad for ExpecT. I mean, he really could have just had the tank siege the whole time, and there's no way Haas could set up there. So I think ExpecT here, he's still got a better army. If he just grabs the SCVs off the natural and pushes, I don't think there's any way Haas can defend that. But he's picking off a lot of Marines, and that's really important because it's the Marines that kill the Zealots, and we're still dealing with a very Zealot-focused army. It's also very Marauder-heavy, and if you're left with just Marauders and tanks up against Zealot Immortal, Zealot Immortal is going to destroy Marauder Siege Tank. The Marine count is actually so important.
Haas has bought himself so much time as well. This tried to move out like a good 2 minutes ago, but he got stuck in the middle. He was paying attention to his drop, and there were zealots in the mineral line from that pylon that he didn't clean up earlier. So now it's almost 12 minutes when this is trying to hit, and in comes Haas trying to just peel off little bits and pieces of this army. It's still going to pack a fairly formidable punch here, but does Haas have what he needs to defend?
Oh, this is going to be real close. There's no shield battery on the natural, so it's just going to be raw numbers. ExpecT here, he's trying to get his tank forward, but he's taking a long time to set this army up. And he's got a great force right now. Can he finish off Haas? He's got a huge army advantage right now. And Immortal's going to rally in and go down very quickly to those Marauders. Oh, the Widowmine's trying to burrow a bit further forward. That siege tank's still very far back. His army does stim again. And ExpecT, I think he might just have too much Marine Marauder here. As good as Immortals are versus this, ExpecT is handling this push really well. He's got a big line of Widow Mines. Liberators will come in. The Stalkers do catch him. Nice move by Haas. Gets the tank and the Liberators.
Does lose that natural nexus, and there's still a lot of bio here. It's stimmed, it's doing a lot of damage with that +1 armor is actually also about to finish here, and he's actually looking to just charge up the ramp, clearing up so many probes at the same time. And how is Haas actually going to attack up into this? It's just so much, and there's Liberators coming in behind this as well.
Yeah, this is actually insane. That's just too much bio. I mean, there's nothing here that scales well versus that much stim bio. They've been on a good economic position for ExpecT for a long time in this game, and after that push on the third base that he found, he was in a great position. You know, he actually did not reinforce that push that much, and even though he lost the whole army, he was getting 3 racks, you know, getting stim, shields, +1 attack, medevac production, and that sort of army, it just trades well versus Zealots. If you're on like equal economy, equal production, the 1-1 bio medevac is always going to beat the Zealots.
Interesting. He's actually going to try and go for the base trade as his last resort here, knowing, okay, well, that army's too powerful for me to attack into. But Terran can turtle up here. He's got Liberators there that Haas really can't do much about. And obviously Terran buildings can fly if it comes down to it. ExpecT takes game number 1, already proving me, a doubter nerd, wrong. And you love to see it.
Yeah, very well done by ExpecT there. Does take game 1 up against Haas. Remember, this is a player who has a 0% in series. He has never taken a best of series versus Haas. So starting off with a win, it's a great way to go.
It certainly is. I'm really happy to see it. And, you know, look at those stats and you're like, maybe he'll take 1, 2 if he's lucky. But after a game like that, like, a lot of things didn't go quite how he planned in this one for him either. And he still comes out on top with a really powerful 2-base build. So really excited to see what else he has planned. And we did have some interesting battles in this one, though.
Yeah, it was really cool to see this like skirmishes, but I think ExpecT just respected the Phoenix so much. He's already building Viking Cyclones who just never stop. Viking Cyclone, Marine Tank, Viking Marine Tank, Viking Marine Cyclone Tank. And I was a little worried when he started to do multi-prong, just because like I was like, you know, Haas can deal with it. But then it was like, no, it made sense. He killed all the Phoenix. Haas didn't have Blink, so he couldn't really punish that sort of drop play. So it was really smart the way ExpecT kind of spread Haas out, kept him busy, and then set up the frontal pushes.
Yeah, Huge Haas tried his best to stretch that out a little bit and find an angle to win the game. But yeah, ExpecT was way too deep into Perdos territory at that point, which is really cool to see. I can't help but root for the guy, you know, in such a Perdos heavy region. And as someone who's not favored, because who doesn't love an underdog, you know? So I am interested to see if he can keep that up. I think it's still a tough ask against someone as experienced as Haas, but hey, we might be pleasantly surprised. We'll find out soon what's going to happen next, guys. We're going to take a quick break and we'll be back shortly. Hey, welcome back, everybody. It is time to continue our last series of the evening. At least for us. I know there's a broadcast following immediately after us because the StarCraft hype train never stops. But we've already had an interesting result here in game number 1. If you're just joining us, it is Haas versus ExpecT. Everyone knows Haas. Not a lot of people know ExpecT, but he's taken game number 1.
Indeed. And well-planned build order, right? The one base Widowmine drop there, fantastic. The double check scouting against a Haas who tried to fake out the double gas, was like, ooh, I'm doing a one base build, and then just took a Nexus, and ExpecT spotted it straight away. So that to me shows I know the sort of aggression that does well against Haas, but I also know how to double check for his tricks as well. So ExpecT looking pretty good in that first game.
Yeah, I mean, Haas no slouch, but that was hard for him. He had a really rough time in that game, despite handling the drop okay. There was just so much ExpecT on the map. He had so many units, and despite Haas's delaying tactics, it just packed way too much of a punch. He never really got his feet under him. And yeah, it actually looked pretty convincing for ExpecT, which I think is really impressive. It wasn't like this oopsie daisies, Haas made major mistakes, ExpecT kind of scraped it together and won. No, he actually looked like he had that planned out pretty well. So
Indeed.
Yeah,
that was a good way to start it off. I do wonder after that opening if Haas kind of goes more for a little bit of a greedier start, though, just to kind of get a few more workers out. And you were talking earlier about how he sometimes swaps into that defensive macro mode like last season, and we're just like, Haas is just scouting and responding. And I think looking at that first game, it's probably a good idea.
Yeah, because this isn't an opponent that I feel like he would have specifically prepared for, or even, for lack of a better word, expected to come up against. So I wonder if that's to his detriment here, because maybe when you have someone tailoring their builds to you while you're just trying to rely on your normal play, that can be a bit of a disadvantage, and you can end up in a situation where you're actually not quite equipped to read him well enough and choose the right builds in the moment.
Yeah, I think it can get kind of weird and interesting depending on how those mind games play out, and there's always a little bit of gambling involved in any effective StarCraft play. It's a game of incomplete information, so there's that, having the confidence to just roll the dice a little bit sometimes is a necessary evil, and I think that's also probably the part which is why you need so much mental fortitude for a lot of these StarCraft players, is because there's always inevitably going to be a moment where the dice doesn't come up in your favor. It's so hard to, you do everything you can to kind of limit those chances and make it more about skill and scouting and figuring things out. But there's always a certain kind of thing that you didn't really pay attention to that catches you off guard, or there's something that lines up awkwardly where, your drop runs into their stalkers by chance or something of that nature. I did hear we just have a couple of lobby bugs, so guys, we're not keeping the camera on us because we want to see the game as well, but they're just getting that one set up right now, so we'll be into it in a moment.
Yeah, BattleNet is bullying us. It doesn't want us to get to the games just yet. But yeah, no, I agree. I mean, it's a difficult thing sometimes to always be on your best macro, micro, whatever it is that you're trying to bring to the match. Some days you're just going to do it tough. Someone's just got your number and you can't quite come out on top. And funnily enough, when we were chatting to But Always yesterday, I think it was, he was saying Haas has actually been spending a lot of time playing League of Legends in his spare time. So he's like, nice practice is really hard, but Haas, he's playing too many of the other video game. Very, very cheeky of him. So it's kind of funny, though, to hear that and see that he's still playing a lot of online cups, because maybe Haas is just one of those guys that he doesn't need to grind all day to be good. He just needs to kind of keep fresh with the tournament here and there, and he's A-okay to go.
Well, there are times where he does get a little bit more predictable in his play, and he just kind of, you're like, oh yeah, this is the build that he does, and he's doing it again. So there are periods where maybe he hasn't put as much work into dissecting, the kind of little gambles that everyone's taking on the ladder and finding the little punishments that nobody else is doing. Because that usually is his specialty, and I think he excels when he's done his homework on the meta and his opponents, and he says, hey, nobody's proxy gating really quickly right now these days. Like, hey, okay, let's proxy a gateway inside your natural and build some stalkers there and kill your expansion, and get some awesome momentum, and then, right when you think I'm going Phoenix, I'm gonna actually go straight for DTs after 2 Phoenix in the middle of a Phoenix war or something like that. And it's like, it's the little things where he finds the blind spots. That's what his specialty is. It's like he's so good at finding individuals, but also the general meta of a matchup. He finds what like the blind spot is, the standard best and most solid ways of playing, and he's the guy. Like, if we had to like ensure solid build orders like they were a car or a piece of machinery or something, companies would hire Haas to come in and like prove that it's broken. It's like the hacker you get to test the online security and that sort of thing. Like that's who Haas is.
Yeah, absolutely. And I find I put him on the list of guys that pull out old builds as if they were brand new, and the ones that used to be in fashion, and everybody's already forgotten how to defend against it. I don't think it was this region, but I remember seeing somewhere recently someone doing like mass Oracle in PBZ, and I was like, wow, we haven't seen that in a little while. And that's the kind of thing that trips people up, because they're like, I remember this, but do I remember the exact response? Do I remember these timings? And it sort of throws you for a loop there.
Yeah.
So it can be a little bit of a lucky dip with the kind of builds that you're going to get from Haas, but I think that's something that's really fun for this region, where they just they have sometimes their own meta. They're happy to go with weirder builds and sort of just experiment a little bit, not necessarily go with what everybody else is rolling with. So for me, that makes it really fun to watch this region, and I hope that other people enjoy it too. Something a little bit different. It's not always about the most optimal way to play Zerg like Dark does or whatever. You get those wacky strats out here.
Well, it's so funny because we get automatically we share ideas on how to play the game properly. It's how we learn, right? But you get these players who occasionally come up and get to a very good level without really kind of following the pro builds or talking the community and studying that much, and they always bring in these like fresh approaches. And then you have the same thing when you go region to region. Like, we used to always just be like, when you played against like Tude Ming or Zhigu or one of these Chinese players back in the day, it was like we thought there was different places that had weird metas, but China was always the one that was like, what? These guys have the most wild build orders. Like, they just have this different way of thinking about it. Like, I remember a point where like, Zerg versus Zerg, it was like Roach Max versus Roach Max, and it was always like, oh, who can remax faster? And they would purposefully just like sacrifice a few of their drones and fill up their last like 30 supply with 60 banelings, and they're like, no, like banelings are more efficient. You're like, banelings are terrible versus roaches, and they're like, but if I win this one fight really hard and then get on your production with 60 speed banes and my roaches, then you're like, and they would kill people with it. And it was crazy because like you'd play against these guys who'd specialize in these crazy different like gambles that you'd never thought of, and like really cool timing attacks. And Taiwan has done that a lot with Protoss play, with Haas at the forefront of it, now Nice as well, where Nice is such a more solid macro player than Haas, but he still brings out these weird proxy gates. He has these strange different variations of all-ins and hidden build orders. So Taiwan has this like little microcosm of a meta where they bring in their own flavor of just about everything.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And when you have players like that, it kind of makes the other players in the region sort of conform to that as well and have to experiment to figure out what the best way forward is. We see a lot of aggressive players, and we may see a bit more of them in the near future. Folks, I know we've been talking your ears off. It looks like there's actually a bit of a BattleNet issue happening at the moment. So what we're going to do is going to take another quick break. Hopefully it'll be resolved in the near future, and we'll hop right back into this series when we're back. Hello, welcome back. Thanks for sitting tight with us, everybody. It looks like we found a solution to get the games going here. We don't want to run too late, as you know, there's more StarCraft after us as well. So, BattleNet delays are delays for everybody, unfortunately. But it sounds like we have a countdown starting, and that is music to my ears, Pig.
Oh yeah, I was worried. I was like, oh no, not again. I love casting these games, but my endurance only gets me so far. You know, I'm normally a bit of a granddad who goes to sleep pretty early, and it's already past midnight. We were casting till almost 3 a.m. the other night, so I'm you know, I'm not saying I want the games to be quick, but you know, I don't want to be, you know, up that late. So I'm hoping we can keep the games going. I went online as well and was testing it out and was trying to host it, and I couldn't get a lobby to work either. So I think it was just there was a bug for a couple of minutes on the Asian server for whatever reason. It worked fine on NA. But we are finally here into the second map, and this Terran hype train is going pretty damn well so far. In the bottom left, in the red, this is ExpecT.
And in the top right, the man standing in his way. But can he put some points on the board here? This is Haas.
Looks like ExpecT is going to eBay block, and Haas is going to proxy. Oh.
Never a dull moment, hey?
Yeah. I guess, oh, Haas was looking just for proxy barracks. So if Haas is actually just going to scout, and he didn't check for the eBay. Oh, he checks for it a bit late, so that's already got a ton of build time on it. Yeah, he's not going to be able to get the Nexus down. I thought he might go back to this just quick expand, you know, after that first game, and indeed he does go to it. He starts the Zealot now, but normally you want to pull 3 probes on top of the one that's already down there the moment you see the SCV. Start the eBay, but he's late, and looks like it is going to be a nice start for ExpecT, who's blocking the gas deal there. The SCV does drill the probe a few times, chases it out, and looks like another one of these quick factory openings.
Yeah. I feel like Haas is probably like, dang, I should have just proxied at this point. But he's just got to continue with the one base for the moment. Obviously, get the core, get a couple of units out, clear that up, and try and keep tabs on what ExpecT is going to be doing here. He actually opens the front door in time for this probe to get in just a little bit. Obviously, there's a racks there. You can bet that there's a factory behind that, so there's not that much to note just yet.
Nice quick Stargate, going to be the follow-up as the Zealot and Adept smack through the eBay, or the Zealot and the Probe do, and clear that up for the expand. So wouldn't be surprised to just see Phoenix out of Haas to defend the follow-up, and definitely can go well. As you said, you know, kind of wishes maybe that he proxied. Well, Proxy Void Ray I feel like is so good versus eBay block. It's like, it's good always versus Terran, and if you happen to Proxy Void Ray and they build an engineering bay in your natural, oof, that's really good.
Yeah, for sure. Well, maybe you'll keep that in mind for some of the upcoming maps. It would be kind of weird, as we spoke about earlier, to not see at least one sort of curveball thrown out here against ExpecT, but it also depends how this map goes. If ExpecT goes up 2-0, that's particularly wild. That's not a scenario that we foresaw, and perhaps not one that Haas would consider either in preparation for this. So this Adept just knocking on the front door here does pick out that SCV that was building the CC there, so he has delayed that slightly.
Yeah, kind of surprising that was in range. It's like only on that corner. But CC is rebuilding now, and Widowmine's pumping out 2 at a time. Robo's on the way nice and quick, so this is kind of funny. I was talking at the start of the series, I was like, well, Haas doesn't like to build detection, so doing invisible Widowmine drops would be good. But Haas, he's flexible, and he's cluing on that these reactor factory builds, he's going to build a robo in detection. In this scenario, I cannot believe that SCV keeps floating to the bottom right corner. ExpecT, how unlucky are you, mate?
Unreal. Well, he's going to go and try and take that nut now. Phoenix is on the way here for Haas, and he's actually done a surprising amount of damage to the supply depot here too. He's just being such a nuisance.
Hey, friend.
What's up? Long time. Now this mine dropper's gonna come in. Seems to be a bit of an old faithful build for a few Terrans at the moment. I mean, why not, right? It's just it creates a bit of chaos, as you said earlier. So let's see how he goes with this. The Phoenixes, where are they at? Yeah, they're actually in position for intercepting that if that comes around the conventional path. Huh, interesting.
Oh, it's a fake. Oh, no, you spotted my medevac. Oh, no. Oh, my God, this is hilarious.
Oh, he's trying to bait him. Is it going to work?
Oh
my God.
Only one. Okay, well done.
Well played. Whoa, all right, don't get too fresh there.
ExpecT is such a tricky player. He always throws in some really cool little tricks.
That's so funny. And yeah, Haas is kind of just chilling there, like trying to see if he can get him when he tries to come pick those back up. Keeping an eye on the situation there, but ExpecT is actually just evacuated with the 2 of the mines, and he's following up with a few Vikings. Cyclones and Marines, Stim now on the way as well, so he will have a bit of a force that he can roll out within a bit, and that natural's looking nice and saturated at this point.
Looks almost identical to game 1 for ExpecT, with the quick second barracks and Stim on the way, but a little bit of a faster third barracks and engineering bay. I still imagine he's probably going to go for a push. Unfortunately, the big difference is in that game, he killed the Observer really quickly, I think, with a scan, and got rid of that on his high ground. This time, Haas sees everything that's going on. So straight up to a bunch of gateways there. The Robo Bay's on the way. So it looks like we're going to see like Colossus, Twilight Council for Charge coming in, Immortal Production starting up. Haas looking a little bit better off than in the previous map.
Certainly. I mean, he's keeping all these Phoenixes as well. This mine drop is still a bit of a threat, so it's possible that he could take some damage if Haas isn't in position, but it looks like Haas has caught wind of this. He's already making a beeline almost for where that medevac is, and yeah, he's going to put that to rest.
Yeah, nice pickup there for Haas, just taking that out. ExpecT immediately drops the 3rd command center. So going to go to a bit more of a macro game in this situation, being forced there. And we'll see how that one plays out. Factory is building a reactor. So right now, ExpecT is building more of the bio-mine sort of army as he starts his 4th and 5th barracks. Now that sort of army is a bit more mobile. It's great for kind of roaming around and dropping and split pushing. Frontal fight versus Colossi doesn't go so well with that army unless you can get a giant spread in a big open area and just overwhelm them. So I think the way you want this to go as ExpecT is you want to kind of be splitting your army up and kind of threatening with big roaming squads, and you want to kind of push the Protoss' map control back a little bit.
Yeah, and I do feel like he's playing to what he knows best here, because this is the thing that he excelled at when he was trying to defeat Rex. It was multi-prong attacks. It was bio-mine. And he did really, really well with it. He's really solid. So I like that he's going for this. We've just got to see how much damage he can actually roll out with it as Haas continues to tech up here on his 3 base. We see Charge almost finished. And there's the Templar Archives coming into play as well.
Colossus Charge Archon and 3 bases of workers. That's a scary prospect when Haas is involved. He's a player who would love to just push across and roll over you. So ExpecT as he takes this 3rd base, his worker count has not really been growing actually over the last minute. Obviously Phoenix damage being a part of that. He is trying to build SCVs now, but I was like, hey, he was at 48 SCVs like a minute and a half, 2 minutes ago. These Phoenix being a big nuisance.
He's definitely done well with those. Still got a decent flock. Finally, it looks like a drop has snuck through the defenses, and he's going to go straight into the main as a Colossus. Yeah, there we go. Does a 180, turns around, starts trying to fry up these Marines. Needs some friends to help it out, though, and there's the Zealot warp in to help with the cleanup.
That's not good, ExpecT, yeah. Good defense there for Haas with the fortunate timing. You know, if the medevacs were able to boost onto the Colossus, could have been a different story, but with no Marauders in the drop, always going to be hard. Lots of Widow Mines here and a good little Viking squad. Couple of tanks and Cyclones as well. One Colossus out in the open. The Widow Mines, ooh, good pickups. There's still a few Widow Mines that do fire. And that Bio trying to get back away from those Colossus lasers.
Wow. Haas isn't afraid at all. He goes right in there, picks off a bunch of the units. There's no tank with this force anymore. It's purely Bio and Cyclone, and that does do a fair bit of damage. Let's not forget, there's actually not that much gateway force beneath that.
Oh, this is
But,
really bad.
no.
Oh my god,
Oh,
one full
all the
medevac
choices to
goes
make.
down. Yeah, all the Vikings as well. It's crazy because Hassada actually backed off from chasing him down there. This is actually... So one thing with ExpecT is he loves to multi-prong and excels in that scenario, but it's his default mode as well. So against a player who's got this many Phoenix, it's very dangerous to be dropping. And after a fight like that, I feel like ExpecT is almost forced to play a much longer game. Can't really continue that sort of multi-prong aggression. It's just not going to go well for him. I think he's got to kind of just focus on getting a bigger, strong central army for a little while. And in the past, I've seen ExpecT thrive because he drops a lot, but also sometimes split his army up when he doesn't need to and miss out on some frontal opportunities because of that. And right here, I think it's all just about lockdown and survive for a little bit. If you can get out a bunch of ghosts with that enhanced shockwaves upgrade, you can take out these Archons and Zealots really quickly.
Yeah, really good point. And Haas, I feel like he's about to enter that mode where he just he just starts taking the map. He's got really strong econ. He's got all the tech that he could want, and he's powering those upgrades still. And this is the point in the game where he's also starting to try to open the map up a little bit. Maybe poke at ExpecT, see if ExpecT is actually ready to receive a Protoss attack at the moment, because 175 supply, nothing to scoff at here. He's got a fair amount of splash available to him here too. These mines are just a non-event.
Ooh, he wants to finish it. It's a big army, but there's so much splash damage in there. The Bio is starting to crumble. SCVs do take a few waves. The Colossi getting focused down very quickly there. And the Bio is doing a good spready. The Archon's starting to fall. If you can get rid of the Stalkers, that would be a huge win for ExpecT here.
Wow. There's a surprising amount of muscle left over on the ground there for ExpecT, and he's actually going to try and maybe press the issue here a little bit. It is a very hurt army, but with those medevacs, he's got a chance to heal up a little bit on the way over. Still got a good Viking count too, so we see a switch here for Haas into Disruptors instead. He's just getting a couple more Templar in to round out that splash. That's not a big army at the moment. It's mostly gateway, so he definitely needs a little bit of extra flavor in there to hold off that big bio punch from ExpecT.
And it's a very important punch. It has to do damage. I like that ExpecT's taking his time, letting himself heal up. These Vikings, they're going to kill a few Phoenix, and they're going to have to land. They're not very good units on the ground. The EMPs need to do big damage here, and they do land on the Zealots and Immortals. Archons, a few of those still pretty healthy. Not many EMPs left. He's got to do damage and force the fight right now. ExpecT is so far down in economy. Haas has so many units reinforcing. The Vikings need to land. They need to help this fight out.
And they do land indeed, but there's a lot of Protoss left over, and he is actually steamrolling this army. +2 finished seconds before he engaged there, and Haas manages to take it. Game number 2 evens it up to a 1-1.
Good comeback there for Haas. Does manage to slow things down. And I gotta say, especially when you get eBay blocked and you scout it that late, it's always such an awkward opening. But he did it really well. Did not fall for the Widow Mine trap. Almost. If that went off and killed 4 Phoenix.
Unreal, yeah.
Dude, that would have been crazy. But quick response from Haas.
Yeah, let's just appreciate this for a second here. So close, yet so far. And it's just a credit to Haas keeping tabs on what his units are doing and what the play is from ExpecT. He got a bit of harassment in. But as he pointed out, a big difference here was the Observer. He knew what ExpecT was doing this whole time. He was a little bit more equipped this time around.
The Archon Colossus army is always this sort of moment where it's like, you don't need a crazy amount of tech behind it. It's just, you've got a bunch of lasers in the Colossus, you've got the beefy Archons adding their splash damage, the Zealots as well. And I do love the addition of the Disruptors here. The Stalkers surviving and getting a lot of the tech units out of the first big battle, very crucial for Haas, because you've forced the Terran to throw all their SCVs in that fight. The Bio's all heavily wounded. You pull out those Stalkers, those expensive units, you save a few of those, and it just makes it so hard for the Terran to counterpunch.
Yeah, it really does. And, he did his best there and he had, again, some good moments, did expect, and points where he goes up against the Protoss army and we're like, well, actually, this isn't going too bad. Haas has to back off. But, on the flip side, there were a couple of decisions there where he kind of hurt himself a little bit and then he had to back off and suddenly he's on the back foot. So it can change that rapidly, unfortunately, and ExpecT needs to fine-tune a little bit if he wants to still come out on top here, but we're now more into that best of 3 territory. Only 3 maps left between these two.
Indeed, remember for those just tuning in, ExpecT has not taken down Haas in a best of series before, but I think even that game was not too bad, and the first map was pretty damn fantastic. So I think we're going to see more tricky build orders, and definitely it looks like this 3 racks seems to be the set piece that ExpecT is most comfortable with. I was a little surprised because I thought there was going to be an earlier attempt on the 3rd base again with like a bunker push or something like that with the early Cyclone Viking. That went so well in the first map. Was Haas more prepared for it? I guess the Widow Mines hadn't really done as much as was a different situation, but I wish he kind of at least pushed out and pressured and faked that push across the map. That's something Clem will do a lot, where he kind of goes out, acts like he's going to push, and then just scrambles home after he's forced you to build a lot of defensive units and shield batteries.
Yeah, it looked like he just got a little spooked there. Like he was ready to go, and then he was kind of like, not actually sure if I can make this work. So, yeah, he didn't end up doing that. I think it's still, like you said, not a bad option if he wants to go down that route. Seems like he definitely has a moment there where he could take Haas down a path that he doesn't want to go. So here we are on Romanticide. This one definitely lends itself to some longer games. Let's see how we go. This, in the bottom right, is ExpecT.
In the top left, the Protoss, the Breaker of Kalaris, the King of Cannons, the Cheeser, the guy who knocked Jaedong out of WCS and created many fans' tears back in 2013. He's continued that proud lineage of making fan favorites lose. This is Haas.
Haas hasn't had a huge amount of success against Terrans in recent times, but when you look at the people that he's going up against, it has been a little bit rough. You're seeing Special, you're seeing Cure, you're seeing Clem. None of those are very easy opponents, so, it's good quality practice, but definitely done it a little tough, and I wonder if ExpecT has been able to find a few more ways to prepare and potentially find another hole in Haas's armor here, because we came into the series and I'm like, oh, this is going to be a bop. It's going to be 3-0, easy peasy. It hasn't looked that way at all. So I'm pleasantly surprised by ExpecT's ability here.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think this is where you pull out the big guns, Haas. Proxy Dark Templar. Come on. We haven't seen any Ravens yet from ExpecT, and I actually think that would do pretty well in this scenario. Of course, squeezing that out while defending a 1-base play. That's pretty tough. That's pretty hard to do. It would have to be a little bit later in the game the DTs come, probably. So will we see Twilight? Will we see Stargate here? It looks like Warp Gate's on the way, so I'm imagining we're going to see a Twilight opening, most likely.
Yeah, seems to be the way to go. He's going to head out here with this initial unit or two and just keep tabs on what's happening over there. Obviously, it is the 111. He's got Hellions already on the way. And Starport not too far off finishing here as well. He's actually not opted for the Twilight.
Yeah, the Stargate's kind of a little bit later because it was like Adept, Warp Gate, then Stargate. And this was also off the Cybercore first. So it's not the fastest Stargate. It's not crazy slow or anything either. Good recall on the Adept. Spots the 2 Hellions, and it's actually going to be 4 Hellions coming in. Now, there is a build recently where with like 4 Hellions and 4 Widowmine drop comes in at the same time, right? It's where the Protoss is kind of waiting for it and they're watching the edges, and then bam, you just run in the front and just throw everything on top of that natural. Now, that's especially designed for busting the wall, when they have the unit in the wall. In this case, though, just going to be rallying across. So those Widow Mines are probably going to rally out, and then they can get ferried in behind the Hellion drop. So this is a really cute way of rallying the pressure across the map. ExpecT has a natural on the way, starting Vikings as well. As it seems to be this, the early Widow Mine drops, the one base build seem to be prompting Has to go Phoenix consistently, as it's the best way to control and shut them down. But, oh, he's found a blind spot.
Uh-oh. Well, there's definitely going to get a couple of kills at the very least. Let's see how we go. Haas has to react in a split second here. He does sort of line them up as he pulls them away, now scattering them a little bit. The Phoenixes roll in to try and help out against those Hellions, and those probes can go back to mining. 5 workers killed so far, and these Hellions are running away. Where are the mines at?
Oh, the Adepts are going to counterattack. The Phoenix chasing down the Hellions. That means there's nothing in position right now to deal with this Widow Mine drop. ExpecT is finding a Haas that is not very well prepared for this.
Yeah, absolutely. And he's borrowed those. They do trigger on a single probe each. Oh, this medevac is going to go down, though, and the last mine doesn't get to fire. He rolls in with a single Hellion behind that. I'm not sure that's going to find too much damage.
Oh, he didn't quite manage to get that Widow Mine on the big stack of probes, so it looks like this will go down. The Hellion in the main being a nuisance, but the shield battery does stop the worst bits of the damage. Remember that this was a very one-base build. This needed to do a lot of damage. It did a fair bit, but not enough to put ExpecT clearly in the lead by any means. There's still a 10-worker advantage for Haas. The Hellion in the main is still going. That
it's
shield battery's out of
best.
juice.
I think it gets an extra probe or two at the end there, but yeah, it definitely didn't put Haas in a dire spot by any means, and we see the Robo Bay now following up behind this, and he's still got those Phoenixes in tow as well. So ExpecT gotta get a bit more juice on those mineral lines, and he is. Do you reckon, like, where does he go from here? Is this another 2-base attempt, or does he try and play it 3?
Yeah, looks like the early barracks are coming. I mean, definitely you can still go 3 racks into 3rd command center, but there's going to be more of an attempt. I feel like on this map it's very hard to get as much of a reaction, especially with a siege tank style. Like, ExpecT's building tanks right now, so the tanks, is he going to do one of these really quick pushes? It looks like he might be moving out right now.
I mean, surely with the Liberator, right?
Yeah, looks like it. There's not a lot of anti-air in that army for the Phoenix, and there will be a Colossus out in the near future. Okay, 2 Cyclones, 4 Vikings. There they are. I was like, where is that anti-air? Surely there's some more tech units out. That's actually a pretty scary unit set. Not that many Marines, but Haas, I don't know if he's kind of got wind of this a little bit late. He's moving up now to defend. I do believe there's a shield battery ready. Yeah, there is. And that'll be overchargeable because the Nexus is here. The Colossus is not here just yet. 2 slow Zealots. Where's the rest of the army?
He's going to need a little more than that. The Marines targeting down those Phoenixes. And a little bit of a trade out there. The tank is shelling away at this 3rd base. He's got Phoenixes and 1 Colossus. That is it. Are you serious? He has nothing else?
Yeah, this was very greedy follow-up here from Haas. And, the Cyclones go for the lock-ons. The Marines a little bit far back there. Nice pickups on those Cyclones. The Phoenix doing very well. Oh, that was an overextension there from ExpecT. I mean, his tank is working on this base, but that Colossus is so good at killing the Marines. They've got to really respect it.
Yeah, it's going to be really hard to actually close the distance here. Liberator gets taken out by those Phoenixes. Just worth their weight in gold, those things. And while the Vikings are making things a little bit difficult with the shield batteries, he's got the overcharge. He lifts the tanks. He roasts all the Marines. And that should spell the end for this push. He can just clean up those tanks now in the last couple of Marines. He saves that Colossus as well.
Well done there by Haas. The Phoenix superiority there. That Cyclone overextension actually cost ExpecT so much there. I really think if he keeps those 2 Cyclones alive, they can't come in and just start picking off the Liberator. They can't then pick off the units a few at a time and then easily clean up the siege tanks. So an unfortunate overextension from ExpecT, and the Phoenix picking up units at home. He taps out.
He certainly does, and that puts Haas on match point. Simple as that. A couple of mistakes is all it takes there to end up in the danger zone, and he's just like, yep, I don't have an answer for that many Phoenixes at this point in time. Knows it's a little bit too much, and behind that right at the end there is Insane Shaders. Haas is dropping double forge. He's just gonna ramp it up anyway, even if ExpecT stays in the game there.
This was really good finding this blind spot. I feel like that's a very popular Hellion drop spot recently. I think it's going to be only a matter of time till everyone's putting a pylon there rather than on the back of the base. So really good to start, getting 5 probes, and then the Widow Mine's getting in. Perhaps should have saved an extra Widow Mine to go in the main as well. But so here, the double lock-on on the shield battery was actually kind of interesting because the Cyclones don't end up adding that much damage to that first little skirmish. But I think it was okay. And then it was just, yeah, at this point, imagine if there was 2 Cyclones there. I think it really, and a Liberator would have been sieged up as well, which means the Colossus falls a lot quicker. One of the Zealots goes down. I'm not sure if it wins the game, but definitely the 2 Colossi, we didn't catch it in the replay, but they ran forward and kind of got picked up and isolated, and the Marines couldn't cover them because the Colossus had shield battery support, so they had to back off.
Yeah, and I also wonder if he'd still have that many Phoenixes left over had he had that ideal setup still, because they were quite bruised. You know, they're on the front lines, taking the Marine fire and everything. So, yeah, I mean, again, nice ideas from ExpecT. He seems to have the tools, but it's just little fumbles here and there are costing him the game, or costing him at least a better position than he would have otherwise had to try and continue fighting it out here. So he's going to have to dig deep and come up with something to stay alive in this series. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll see who is going to proceed in this bracket. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back, it's DreamHack Fall, and we are wrapping up the final 2 maps of this series, Haas vs ExpecT. We're currently sitting at 2-1 with Haas on match point. And it's looking a little spicy. ExpecT has certainly made it interesting, but I mean, you predicted a 3-1, Pig. Are you still feeling like that's going to be the outcome here?
Yeah, it's looking that way, isn't it? I kind of hope not. You know, I'd like to see ExpecT mix things up a little bit. At this point, we're seeing Haas is getting comfortable with the Phoenix, the shield batteries, covering these Widowmine and Hellion drop builds. So I'd like to see a different opening. You know, back to something a little bit more, just get a normal expansion timing up or something like that. But maybe a reactor first to get some more units out. Let's see some different flavors come out, because this man is not easy to stop when he can predict what you're about to do. In the bottom left-hand side, the blue Protoss. That's Haas.
And up here in the top right, the Terran. His name is ExpecT. Can you believe both of these guys are teamless? It's wild.
Yeah. Get on it. These guys are actually playing so insane. But what is that? So barracks on the low ground. So this looks like it's going to be the exact same opening, just with the barracks hidden slightly more. It's just going to float it back to the high ground and build the reactor for the factory.
Yeah, he just wants to make Haas sweat a little bit. I love these little moves he does where he's got the little fake outs and tricky traps set for his opponent. While they're not, you know, cheeses or anything, they do make Haas have to think here. And Haas, sometimes a pretty thorough scouter. He actually doesn't head right to the edge of the main there, so I don't think he sees that Rax pop it in. But he will want to get confirmation of where that is.
Yeah, no big reaction so far. Cybercore into the Nexus. Zealot on the way for Hasp. So there is a bit of a reaction. That does slow down the pylon on the low ground. The resuming probing delayed by a little bit, and the second gas. So this is actually quite nice. Haas this time around, and the Marine even hides behind the minerals and then sneaks back into the natural. So that was really well done. Doesn't let him realize that it was just a Marine. So about this point is where Haas is going to kind of go, why isn't there a Reaper jumping into my base?
Yeah, he will eventually catch on here and be like, gosh dang it, I didn't actually need to make a solid. But, you know, you've got to be safe if you don't know what's going on. Yeah, so that's fair enough reaction. We see the probe come in and attempt to get another bit of a scout, but ExpecT expertly blocks that off. And he's got the structures all the way back here, so there's no way for that probe to really get much info. So Haas is going to keep trying to scout what's happening here, but he's not going to be able to get a whole lot of information, I think, until that Stargate is actually done.
I'm not sure if I believe in it. The same kind of Widowmine drop build, even though he disguised the opening a little bit more, slowed down Haas's build. It was marginal. It was very marginal. I mean, Haas is very much in a similar situation to the previous games. Well-timed Stargate. He's got his Adepts coming out, shield batteries, and we're going to see him pump out Phoenix and add a Robo for observers, as he had in the previous maps. So this is, I mean, a situation where you're letting Haas get more and more practice in a predictable situation. And it scares me a little bit for ExpecT. Maybe this is just kind of how he likes to open in this matchup, but for me, I'm like, you know what? I kind of wish there was like what Bunny did to eliminate stats in his last GSL run.
Oh,
where
no.
It's like, hey, wall the base off and then just do a proxy 3-racks or something like that. You know, mass marine all in. Oh, this is really bad.
He's been found. Yeah. I mean, you kind of called it. It's the same trick isn't really going to... Oh, hold up. Well. As I say that, the same trick is going to kind of work. I mean, at least he gets the little cheeky bait with the mine hits there, but at least he hasn't lost the medevac.
Would be nice. But yeah, no, you're right. It's exerting a little bit of pressure. With such a delayed command center, though, you want so much more. you really want so much more. 37 workers to 25. There's no pressure to get a third base for Haas because he's miles ahead economically. That command center not even building on the natural. And yeah, I think Haas here is just, he's getting a little more ahead each time he plays against it. So I think unpredictability, always something you need as a Terran player. And he did try to hide what he was doing in different ways. The problem is, if you always end up in the same situation, and Haas's default whenever he's against a one base seems to be like, oh, okay, it looks like it's probably something like this. Go Phoenix, get the Robo for the Observer for the safety. He's just in a great position to defend it. Now, if ExpecT can salvage this situation, I'll be really impressed. It looks like a very similar follow-up. Lots of Cyclones and Vikings, second barracks on the way. If he can pick off some Phoenix, that'll really do a lot for him.
Yeah, tank in the mix as well. The Phoenixes are now going to come out and start trying to clean up these mines so that he doesn't have that be a constant issue. He spots one again over here, so he'll also head over there in time to see this little move out from ExpecT, which, like you said, is looking very similar to the last time. There's tanks and Marines coming in behind this, so I wonder if he'll just rally that in. But Haas already coming up to that 3 base. He's got Immortals coming out, and this is one of those situations again where I feel like by the time ExpecT comes across and tries to do some damage, it's already going to be Colossus, Phoenix, Immortal, bunch of gateway units. He's going to be fairly well equipped to deal with this. Although actually this is going to hit before the Colossus is actually out.
Yeah, I mean, this is always a little bit of an awkward timing, so Haas can't be too cocky in his gateway units. Where are they, right? He's got shield batteries, battery overcharge. Oh, battery overcharge is very good. We don't mind, though. Also quite powerful. It's not that much damage for Haas. Fighting into battery overcharge, though, is dicey at the best of times.
He's picking off whatever he can, Marines, Vikings, and it looks like with these warpins and the shield batteries, it's just too much. I mean, yes, that Cyclone's going to do some work on those Phoenixes, but ultimately, Haas is able to mop this up again, and yeah, a dicey moment, but also he's just not really able to capitalize as ExpecT.
Yeah, that's a big win there for Haas. 51 probes, and he's back to non-stop probing, and these Phoenix have got such value. They're also wounded. The Widow Mine's causing a big disruption on the mining, but no big kills, and just methodical cleanups for Haas. Observer there with the Phoenix, going to allow him to pick that up and deal with it. And what have we got? A handful of Marines, a couple of tanks trying to add the gas as the third command center. But why, that's an empty looking Terran base, isn't it? Even though the barracks and factory are kind of down to the right, it's still not great production for ExpecT.
Yeah, Stim still only halfway done, and he's adding on that extra gas, so it will ramp up in a little bit, but I mean, look at Haas by comparison. He's going double forge. He's starting to mix in more Colossi, getting extended thermal lance. He's getting the Twilight Council. He's comfortably got 3 bases, been making probes 3 at a time. So economically looking really strong as well. So ExpecT playing catch up here, doesn't have a whole lot to work with. I mean, what's the best move from here? Does he just try and turtle? Can he really attack?
Well, I think with the tanks, the engineering bay is coming down, third command center, turtling up seems to be the best play from here, right? Get some tanks out and so on. It's going to be tough because essentially what you're looking at is probably that same big charge dot Archon Immortal attack, or not even Immortals, just charge dot Archon Colossus, right? And you've got the Phoenix there that can disable the tanks. That's one of the scariest things in this situation because you're going to kind of rely on wall off at the front of the natural. Like, he needs to be building all of his depots to wall off the natural and then try to wall off the third. And I actually think ExpecT should take the third on the left side, not this one that he's going for, because he actually needs to, like, if he's turtling up, he needs to defend. Now, obviously, I think ExpecT is just going to go for an attack probably because that's what Terrans really want to do. They prefer attacking. But I think he's going to get absolutely wiped. I think even holding on to his third is a really tall ask. Moving across the map is a nightmare, and this third is a lot harder to defend. It's right out in the open. It's got a huge angle on the right, and there's a big flanking path from the left side. So a mistake that Terran players often make, and this is not ExpecT being a bad player, it's me being critical of Terrans whenever they're in the defensive against a player who has a big army compared to them. Same with Roach Ravager, is taking that third base. I think it's much more exposed and harder to defend.
Phoenix is rolling in here, trying to do some damage to these mineral lines, and they are certainly finding some workers. And that sucks for an already bruised ExpecT. He's going to try and chase these down with the Vikings. Doesn't actually target the weakest ones. Nonetheless, the recall doesn't leave them there for very long. And we about have that fourth base running for Haas. He's getting those Templar in the mix now as well. It's hard to see where ExpecT could find an advantage.
Tanks, EMPs, and yeah, I don't really know.
Tanks, EMPs, and a prayer.
Yep, tanks, EMPs, and a prayer. I think that's about it. That gas is going to be blocked. Is it? No, that's okay. But yeah, this area's, if the Zealots flank from the left especially, it's going to be very hard to hold on. Haas doesn't really feel like he's committing that hard. I mean, he's on 80 probes. He's got 2-2 on the way. He's warping in a lot more Zealots. He's thinking about going for it.
Oh, he's definitely going for it. He's going to lift up those tanks as predicted, and he's going to continue through with that splash. It's just all laser damage here, as much as he can possibly dish out to ExpecT, who is trying his best to hold on here. He started stepping backwards into yet more tank fire, and he's done quite well to last this long, but ultimately, look how much Protoss is left here. 3 Colossi, an extra Archon. It may fall here, but that's ExpecT's whole army gone. And that third base losing 22 SCVs on top of that.
Yeah, that was pretty fantastic micro there from ExpecT, who has one arm up, scratching the back of his head right now, and is kind of like,
Yeah. Now what?
Yeah, he realizes, I mean, he just didn't have the numbers there. Obviously, in hindsight, I guess a few missile turrets and bunkers would have helped out, but it was always going to be hard, especially to defend that angle. And Haas there showing that he is the more experienced one, defends the Widow Mine